Clarkston, Michigan, the greatest city in the world. It's the Jose Aliaga Show. Jose Aliaga knows everyone. Get to know him as he interviews some of the most fascinating people from the greater Independence Township area. And now, broadcasting from the studios at Clarkston High School, the home of the state champion Wolves, here's Jose Aliaga.
Welcome to the Jose Aliaga Show. For the people that wonder if I have a British accent, no, I don't have a British accent. And today I have a very exciting guest. His name is Brandon Greenlee. Brandon is a graduate student from Clarkston High School, 2015, and then he works also in the library. I went to the library, Clarkston Independence Library, and I was, renting books, see some materials there. It's always nice to go to the library. I enjoy going there, and then I saw Brandon there. So we started talking about the primaries. We have so many candidates, as you know, and Brandon is 18 years old, and he knew every single name, every single candidate, and he knew even their position and what they stand for. So I said, Brandon, you're a talent, and you should be on my show to talk about this and share your ideas with Independence Township residents. So today we have Brandon Greenlee here. How you doing, Brandon?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to have you here in the show, and I mean it. And you see, we have so many candidates now. Every week we have, people announcing. I mean, we got Donald Trump just lately, and Jeb Bush, and so many. So what do you think about let's talk about the Republican primary here, because there's more candidates, Right. So what do you think about the last poll? The last poll, you Google it, we have a poll there. It showed that in the poll on June 14 to June 18, we have Jeb Bush with 22%. Scott Walker, that is not announcing yet, he's not running, he's scoring 70%. Rubio, 14%. Ben Carson, 11%. Mike Huckabee, 9%. And Ron Paul, 7%. And of course, the other candidates. So let's talk about the first one, Jeb Bush. Some people I hear in the street saying we like a governor because have experience, he deals with state legislature, and he knows how to deal with people to be able to get the job done. Do you think it's what we need for America?
I think for what we need for America, I think he appeals a lot to the general American. He has the perks of name recognition. His brother was president, and his dad was president as well, George Bush, and VP to Ronald Reagan. I think Jeb Bush also has the money behind that he needs to rival the other big opposition he sees in the Democrat Party from Hillary Clinton. I think what we need for America is that moderate stance that he takes. I think a lot of people are going to agree with what he says, that moderate kind of stance for Republican.
Now, the Republicans in the last two elections, 2008 and 2012, with John McCain, Senator John McCain, and Governor Mitt Romney, they couldn't win the swing states, which is Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And both of them, they were really close. Mitt Romney in the last election, actually, Florida, he lost by 1%, Ohio, 1%, the other two was kind of 2%. So do you think Jeb Bush, because he was the governor of Florida, and we know he did a good job, he will be a good candidate for November election to face any Democrats because he has a name recognition, and Republicans don't need to spend much money in Florida. They need to allocate more money in the other just 3 states. Do you think that's something that will help a lot of Republicans if we elect Jeb Bush?
No doubt, no doubt. As being governor of Florida, he has stuck to some promises. He said he would privatize, more of the state, and especially within the government. He's cut a lot of programs, giving them over to the private sector, and that is something that's true. If you ever go on, PolitiFact, it's a website, and it'll measure some of these statements. It's very interesting. He actually sticks to his word quite a bit, and although people can disagree on whether or not that's the right action to take as governor, whether to privatize or make public, he does err on the side of privatization.
Now, the second in the poll, in the latest poll, from, by the way, the poll was conducted by NBC. So this poll, well, Scott Walker, governor from Wisconsin. He's someone that actually dealt with unions before. I mean, we know that he was successful to pass a right to work. He had recall, and he overcame the recall. Yeah. And he showed they have experience to turn around the economy. Wisconsin have high unemployment before him. He actually created jobs there, and he improved the economy. He put a friendly legislation for business people. Now, a lot of people in America believe that he will be the right candidate for the Republican ticket to be able to win on November. But the most important thing, people believe that he will do a good job. What do you think in comparison him to Jeb Bush?
I think in comparison to Jeb Bush, I think they have a lot in common, especially when it comes to privatization and the stance on unions. I don't believe Florida is a right-to-work state, which is the legislation that was passed in Wisconsin. Michigan has similar legislation. The economy definitely did improve under Scott Walker. It's also interesting to say, in Michigan and all the states that were around the Great Lakes region, our economies suffered immensely, and we've all rebounded quite nicely. Whether or not the reasons for that, recovery, the automotive industry here in Michigan was a huge success. If we didn't bail them out, huge problems for Michigan if we did not do that. In Wisconsin, I'm not sure exactly what he did to improve the economy, but there is definitely clear lower unemployment rate in Wisconsin, and very interesting the dynamics at play when he's in governor.
I see. So as you know, we have so many people running, and probably some of the people watching right now don't know who's running, but let me name the names, and we're gonna talk about each one, pros and cons. For example, we right now, we have, how many governors? We have 4 governors right now running. Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, George Pataki from New York, and Rick Perry from Texas. Mike Huckabee was the former governor of Arkansas, and Jeb Bush from former governor of Florida. Also, we have 5 senators: Marco Rubio from Florida, Ron Paul from Kentucky, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, and Rick Santorum from Pennsylvania. And of course, we have also Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson from Detroit, Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina from California. For all these candidates, who do you think is the best candidate?
The best candidate, I think Marco Rubio, out of the senators, probably has the best shot of any senator.
Why?
Well, I think something that the Republican Party has struggled with recently is the minority vote. The Republican Party, as its demographics move towards the more white and the more elderly side of the demographics and the age, the minority vote is something that is being waged between both parties. And Marco Rubio, being of Cuban descent, if I'm right, Florida has quite a demographic, quite a minority representation of Cubans and that kind of minority.
I agree, and in most primaries, as people know, in the Republican ticket, starting Iowa, New Hampshire, and so forth, but always come down to Florida, and whoever wins Florida carry basically the Super Tuesday, which is after Florida.
Yep.
John McCain won Florida, that's it. Mitt Romney in 2012 primary, he won Florida, he got a nomination. So it seems like, for what you're saying, well, for what we're talking right now, is Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush will have more chance since they have a name ID in Florida? Do you think that it's going to be between those two? Or you think maybe, who is the outsider for you anyways? Who is the outsider from the election?
An outsider for the election, so like outside of Washington, D.C., right? They're not your Washington elite. I think within the Republican Party, I think Ben Carson would probably be the outsider. So
you think, because it looks like, we were talking previously, maybe we have Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio maybe is coming down because Florida, but do you think the outsider, and you say now Ben Carson maybe overcome this?
Overcome is, he struggles with name recognition. He's not a senator, he's not a governor. He was a neurosurgeon. He had the first successful surgery to separate 2 conjoined twins at the head. It's incredibly impressive. He would definitely appeal to the social conservatives, his stance on the family structure and religion, and he definitely appeals in that area. I think people more of a grassroots kind of thing would be where he would shine. And we'll see if that's enough to counter the Jeb Bush name recognition and money that Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio can bring to the table.
Some people are saying if in Iowa, last election in 2008, Mike Huckabee won Iowa, for example. Starting Iowa, okay? Let's see Huckabee wins again. New Hampshire, okay, let's give to anyone right there. South Carolina, maybe Senator Lindsey Graham, since he's the governor for South Carolina, you think he may have a chance to beat Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, and Marco Rubio, since they don't have much name ID in South Carolina? Then Senator Lindsey Graham, you think Lindsey Graham's strategy is maybe win South Carolina and then create momentum before Florida?
I think Lindsey Graham, yeah, he's definitely been making more of a name for himself within the Republican Party. And one of the other things that came up, he in the recent shooting in Charleston, very a travesty and just awful. He made a few statements during that as well. So he's getting his name out there, and we'll see how that pays off for him. Whether it's enough to take Florida, we'll have to see about that.
I see. And these polls, just for people to know, is nationwide, but that doesn't reflect much because remember, the primary start in Iowa, New Hampshire, and these polls is just the whole country, but it doesn't matter what the polls is in Alaska, can be in some other states like Nevada or whatever. I mean California, with the primary start in Iowa. You understand? So if we have these polls come numbers from those states that are knowing the beginning of the primary, which is Iowa, New Hampshire, it doesn't matter, Yep. It doesn't matter then right now we have Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or someone leading, but in Iowa, they're not going to win. Because whoever wins always the first state is creating some momentum, to carry the second state and goes that way too.
Yep.
So it's kind of very difficult, but good point about Lindsey Graham, because so many people keep saying, Jose, Lindsey Graham don't have a chance, but come on, he have a name recognition in South Carolina, one of the first states of the primary. He may have a chance.
Maybe.
What do you think about Donald Trump? He just announced it a while ago.
Donald Trump, I think what he says are some very interesting points, and I think a lot of Americans can agree with. However, I think if you just look at what his history has been, announcing for president, he gets his name out there, no doubt. He did the same thing 4 years ago. I doubt he would make it past the primaries, just seeing his behavior in the past. But I think what he says, a lot of Americans could agree with. However, myself, among the youth, and I feel like the movements that we've seen in the U.S., especially for us going into college and seeing how our future might, is kind of blurry at this point. Donald Trump, I believe the way he talks, it doesn't resonate too well with the youth. I know with myself, I find myself disagreeing with him on some things. A
lot of people is saying this, that Donald Trump at least says the truth. And most political people right now don't tell people the truth. They try to be political correct. Donald Trump is kind of a celebrity. People see his show and see of him someone that would tell the truth of people. And his big thing right now is he knows how to negotiate contracts and how to negotiate and benefit America. He believes that our foreign policy right now is against America. And he wants to negotiate in favor to America so we can win more instead of losing upside, in foreign policy.
Right.
And a lot of people believe that he's gonna do the best job and he's not gonna lie to people and he's not gonna put other interests first. Now, do you think that there will be enough to carry him to win the primary?
I think with Donald Trump and his stance on foreign policy especially is very interesting. Especially that's been something of a blunder recently in the U.S., under Obama. It's also very interesting, Obama, he's been trying to make a comeback, I feel, because he recognizes it. If you see under Russia, he said, if there's a tragedy, no one calls Russia first. It's always the U.S. And so Obama, he's trying to become more, what Trump, I feel. Trump is very blunt, Obama still has to be nice, so no major crises start in the world, like World War III or anything, if he calls out anyone too seriously. Donald Trump, I feel like, yes, he's very honest. He says what he believes, and it may or may not pay off for him. We'll see. He's very blunt about some things.
Now, you mentioned something very important earlier. You talk about the name recognition. You said Bush have a name recognition, probably Huckabee because he ran before.
Yeah.
Some name. I mean, Rick Santorum have a name recognition. I mean, you like it or no, somebody who's watching says, I'm not going to vote for him, but he ran in 2012. In the end, he was second. You know, Mitt Romney won, but Santorum was second. He's a hard worker. He's very conservative. And I think at this point, at least you know the name in comparison to Governor George Pataki from New York. Then most people says, when I said even this before, George Pataki says, no chance. And some people didn't know he was a Republican New York governor and deal with serious crisis like September 11 with Giuliani. So what I'm saying here is Santorum have a name recognition, but do you think people is taking serious him at this time, or you think because in the polls, even he doesn't show in the polls,
right?
I mean, in the top 5, do you think he have some chance to overcome?
I think with Rick Santorum, you're right. He does have a name recognition. I think what he has in name recognition, there's a saying, you know, bad PR is still PR. You know, you still get your name out there. I feel like he is most known for the gay rights movement during that time period as well. There was a gay rights activist, I'm forgetting his name right now, he came up with the It Gets Better campaign, and what he criticized Santorum heavily, and I know just this youth perception, I feel, it's going to be a struggle in that area. Among the more conservative, the older demographics, you know, like particularly not the youth, I feel like Santorum could appeal more, especially appealing more to conservative family values, religion. Again, you know, that would be where he shines. I'm not sure his economic policy, foreign policy. I'm not sure exactly where he stands.
So for what you're saying, his close competition right there is probably Mike Huckabee, right?
Mike Huckabee,
in the kind of base, because each of them, I believe, have some base. Tea Party. You said before, I mean, before we came to the set, then Rand Paul have the libertarians base.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think maybe Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee are kind of close fighting the evangelical or the Christian movement? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we can put them in the category of the social conservative movement. They're the ones who are your pro-lifers when it comes to abortion. You know, they're going to be pro-life. When it comes to birth control, they're going to want to regulate that more. And so, yeah, they will definitely be vying over those voters, and especially in the South, the so-called Bible Belt. You know, that's where they're going to be They have that area, you know, kind of under lock, so they'll be campaigning elsewhere.
So now, Ben Carson just says he's the outsider, and do you think some people taking serious Ben Carson, some people are not taking serious Ben Carson, but the reality is here. Why he's the outsider for you?
Well, his origin, his history, he came to light in a Tea Party activist lunch, brunch, and he just said some things about the government as it is, and it just resonated a lot with the people. He didn't come as a senator, he didn't come as a governor. He came just saying what he thought, what he authentically believes in, and it appealed to a lot of people. I feel like, you know, I think the biggest Washington insider there is would probably be Hillary Clinton, right? Whether it's, you know, she was the first lady back in the 90s, and she knows how it all works. She was asked what her favorite book is, and it was the Bible. It's like, she just seems very unauthentic. And, you know, when it comes to Ben Carson, he'll say what he thinks, and it appeals to people. Whether or not it'll come out, because name recognition, he struggles, and, you know, he doesn't have the same recognition as Jeb Bush, and we'll see how that pays off for him.
It's true. You bring a good point. Most presidents were governors, senators, even generals, you know, from the army.
Yep. And
we have even Woodrow Wilson was a PhD. He was the only PhD we have. But good point. We never have. I don't remember a doctor. I don't remember. But you're right. He doesn't belong for the establishment. You're right. For the what we see. Good point. So what do you think about now Rand Paul?
All right. Rand Paul, I think he came on the scene as the libertarian, right? So you have the Tea Party movement, which is a mixture, I think, of social conservatives, you know, your pro-lifers, your family kind of emphasis, and then you're fiscally conservative. And that's kind of what the libertarianism is, just to more of an extreme. And the tough thing for the libertarians, the people who are not quite a fringe group, but more extreme compared to the moderate American, they struggle. They have to appeal to the moderate American in the general election, you know? So in primaries, they can say what they believe, and they can be authentic, and they can appeal to the primary voters and get the candidacy. But when it comes to the general election, like we saw with Mitt Romney, they have to kind of come back a little bit. And Rand Paul is seeing this to an extreme. He's gonna start alienating his base support, his libertarian support, because he has to compromise. and he already doesn't have much base outside of that. So it'll be interesting to see how he turns out.
I see. No, good point. Now, the two people then it seems like they may announce soon is Chris Christie, governor from New Jersey, and Governor Scott Walker. So out of those two, they may announce. Who do you think will have more chance, since they announced, to be able to win the primary out of those two?
Well, coming along this late tends to be detrimental. As we saw with Ted Cruz being the first to announce, he got first access to the money, among all the primary donors for the Republican Party, and he got his name out there too. He went to Liberty University, and he got his name out there, and he was the first one. Now it's flooded, and now they're gonna join the race, right? And they're gonna have trouble getting their names out there. Everyone else is already yelling, so it'll be interesting.
But you see, Scott Walker is in the latest poll. He's second with 70%. I mean, 17% is quite a lot. For a primary, we have like around, 12, 13 candidates. I think Scott Walker, is second without announcing.
Yeah, so I would definitely see him announcing very shortly. Our own governor, Rick Snyder, was going to announce, but he found out that he doesn't have quite the support that he thought he did, so he announced that he's not going to announce. Scott Walker, if he's second in that poll done by NBC, that's a pretty big deal behind Jeb Bush. He will probably announce, and we'll see how that goes.
Now, what about Governor Rick Perry from Texas? What is your opinion, how you see him?
Rick Perry, well, I think his last election, his last run at the presidency, at the Republican debates, he made a very infamous blunder. He said he was going to remove 3 bureaucracies within the U.S. government, and he forgot what the third one was on national television, and it proved to be very detrimental to him. It looked like he wasn't very smart, right? He kind of looked like just another, the George W. Bush stereotype with Texans, I guess. They seem to have a poor grasp on the English, although they could be perfectly fine. Rick Perry, it proved very detrimental to him. I think he's doing a good job of rebranding himself. He's wearing glasses now everywhere you go. My opinion of him personally, I don't see myself voting for him. Again, I feel like the youth as a whole would kind of agree. He's very to the right on a lot of issues, right? Being from Texas, and especially on capital punishment. He, again, infamously stated, someone asked him if he lost any sleep over any innocent people dying from capital punishment, if anyone innocent was killed by the state. And he said he did not lose any sleep over that, any possibility. And the chances are there probably have been. And he said he didn't lose any sleep over that. And so it'll be interesting to see how he rebrands himself and see if he can get some more of the moderate vote.
Right. I think Rick Perry, he's a governor too, and the process he has is that he deals with legislation, and he's a governor, he administrates, he has to appoint cabinet and all that. But of course, like you said, Texas is very conservative, so he not deal with Democrats much because the majority of Republican in both chambers in the state legislature. As you know, every governor has a state legislature, most of it at least, and that both chambers and all that. So, but you're right. It's going to be difficult to overcome when he forgot about those the institutions that he's going to get rid of it, and he forgot. It was in Oakland University. It was a kid in Michigan. I remember that. Very, very interesting. So what about, we miss probably one candidate, Carly Fiorina. What do you think about her?
I think she's female, and that's something, all these other people were talking about, male, so it's a change for the Republican Party. I think that could be definite help for them. She was the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, the computer company, and it's interesting, under her tenure there as CEO, she managed the recession, didn't manage it too well, I don't think, and there were scandals, I believe, before she even came to office, and she may or may not have been part of it, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding her tenure there. One of the things I think she can bring, fiscal conservatives, just like she has a lot of the things that the Republican Party likes. She's female, she's a woman. She could definitely appeal to more people than some of the other people that I think are in that list. Do you think that maybe she have a chance just because it's too many male candidates running, and maybe that split up a lot of votes and she grabs some certain group?
Maybe that will be enough for her to win, do you think?
I think, yeah, it's definitely something she's going to be riding on a lot. If we see, commercials coming up, she's going to be touting her. Oh, she's really the only woman within the Republican Party, that's that on that level. So I think that's something that she'll use to her advantage. Will it be able to overcome the name recognition? A lot of people don't know who she was. I didn't know who she was till a little while ago. We'll have to see. She's starting late, and she has a lot of ground to make up.
I hear she's very smart. Quite frankly, I like all of them. The people that are running right now, I like all of them. It's gonna be very difficult to me to choose for who I'm gonna vote, because I can say I like them, I believe in them, and I think are most of them very good candidates. They have uniqueness in some levels, they have something that the other one don't have, but they have the other thing that the other one don't.
Right.
So I kind of like, but now, who do you think will be the strongest candidate in case Hillary Clinton win the primary in the Democrat election? Who will be the, who do you think will be the, at least give me 3 names, will be the strongest for you?
For the Democrats?
Republican.
So for opposition to Hillary, yes.
Hillary Clinton.
Well, Jeb Bush, I think, is going to be her biggest challenger. Then I think after that, Marco Rubio.
Okay.
And then after that, I would say Rick Santorum.
Rick Santorum?
Yeah. He just appeals to the social conservative. He can appeal more to the, that side, get tapped more into those votes of the
really?
further right.
Okay. But it's interesting because when I go to Facebook and look who has more likes, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, likes, sometimes you can like 4 or 5 candidates, it's not votes, I understand that. But to me, it's a way to see who's more popular. Ben Carson has a lot of likes there. I think he's more than the other candidates. I won't mention the name to say who's better or no, but I was surprised. Being outsider, don't have the experience to be a senator or governor or vice president or whatever from political experience. He has a lot of more likes than the other candidates. I was surprised with that. Yeah. And I mean, I think he, to me, he's a top 5 for sure. But a good opinion. Now, let's talk about the Democrats. Let's talk about Democrats now. Who's running as a Democrat? Maybe you can bring other names, I don't know, but who's running besides Hillary Clinton?
Democrats that come to name besides Hillary Clinton, I think the biggest threat to her within the primaries for Democrats would be Bernie Sanders. Oh, and then behind him, maybe Martin O'Malley. But still, name recognition lacking for both of them. And for Bernie Sanders, I feel like he could use the grassroots support. As we saw, he announced his presidency and he raised millions of dollars just within 24 hours. There was a poll within New Hampshire that was taken. It was 31% of registered Democrats would have voted for him, and then 41% of registered Democrats would have voted for Hillary Clinton. That's a 10% gap there. I think he could seriously make some ground.
Now, very interesting. But now, what are his credentials?
His credentials, he's a senator from Vermont, and things that he's done, it's a very progressive state, so he can get away with more things. Instead, if he were in Michigan, he would be not as successful as some of his stances. He doesn't have that base. So one of the things he's tried to pass within Vermont is a single-payer healthcare system just for the state. So I'm not sure where exactly that. I think that's kind of fallen to the back burner, to help him get to the presidency. But I think his resume, he definitely speaks for the people. Look at his donor list, and you look at Hillary's donor list. You see Hillary's, it's Citibank, it's all these big banks, all these big corporations. You don't think of exactly the people when you think of Hillary Clinton, when you look at that.
Bernie Sanders, who are his donors?
His donors are unions primarily, and they give him less than $100,000 compared to Hillary's like millions, right? So. And around 40% of his donations come in the form of $200 or less. So it's a lot of individual people who believe in what he has to say, giving him that money. So.
And do you know something about O'Malley? He's
I don't know a whole lot about O'Malley, to be honest. I just recognize his name and that he's a Democrat, and it'd be tough
most
for him
people told me that, but it's just because it's just basically two people running. Now, Elizabeth Warren, is she gonna run, or what do you know anything about her?
She's stated quite a few times, like she's been aggravated, that she's not going to run for president. And whether or not she's going to be a vice president is up for debate. People say that politicians, when they're running for president, need to not split the ticket, but more balance the ticket. And that's where you have someone like Hillary Clinton, who appeals, to moderate America. She's female. She needs to have someone who is kind of the opposite of her. So someone who would appeal to minority voters, or so she and Elizabeth Warren would not do a very good job of balancing the ticket.
So it looks like the top two for you and many people so far. It seems like it's Jeb Bush, which is married to a Mexican lady, Columba Bush, or Marco Rubio, who's he's Cuban, kind of descendant. So Hillary, we need at this point maybe a Hispanic running mate if she wins the primary, like someone maybe like Julian Castro, who was the mayor of I remember right now, but it's in Texas. He was the mayor of one of them. I don't remember right now where, but he's now that he's in one of the departments, I think housing or something. Julian Castro is, he spoke in the Democrat convention, he's Hispanic. Some people were rumored that he may run for president because it's how Barack Obama became popular when John Kerry was running for president in 2004. He came and delivered a speech, and he was a state senator running for U.S. senator. Right. Julian Castro did the same thing in the last convention, Democrat convention. But it's just a rumor, as you know. Yeah. But the fact is, Hillary Clinton is running, and you bring a good point. She needs to overcome a certain group that maybe never can vote for her by having a good VP to bring another base that she's not reaching right now. Right. So no, it's a very valid point. But now, so Hillary, it seems like she's going to be the nominee, right?
It appears so far, unless, I mentioned that there's a 10-point gap. Just that was just New Hampshire given. But if she has another scandal, if something comes up with those emails that she deleted off her server, right? If something comes up, if the Republicans find something, that could give ground to Bernie Sanders, that could give ground to maybe Elizabeth Warren would then consider announcing her run for presidency. Hillary Clinton, as of right now, if everything stays equal, of course, anything can happen. It looks like she will be the nominee for the Democrat Party.
So do you think, because it seems like since Bill Clinton got in office, he finished his 2 terms, George W. Bush 2 terms, Barack Obama 2 terms. Seems like this is a Republican year election, just because it seems it's going that way, and that's why we have several people running the Republican ticket. Do you think that is maybe why we have too many Republicans? Because whoever of these candidates, whoever wins, is going to be the next president of the United States?
I think within the Republican Party, some people might say, oh, look at Congress, it's both houses go to the Republicans now. I think that's not, we can't exactly play to that, because something that's weird about those off-year elections, the midterms, not a whole lot of people vote in those. You're not seeing actual people who would turn out the 60% voter turnout that you see in presidential elections. So with that, we're going to see more of a Democrat minority turnout, and I think that's going to be what determines the presidential election. And as for Republicans, again, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, I think are going to be the ones that have the best representation.
Okay, well, like I said, he's very smart. He's 18 years old, and he knew about every single candidate. It was very, very nice to have you here, and very good points. I was really happy to have you here, and that you bring very good analysis about what's going on. Well, thank you so much for being here in the show and share your side, because it's good to know more what you people is thinking too. Usually I get guesses like people that are older and they bring different ideas than you do. And but thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, if you have any comment or something from Brandon, that's his email right there. Brandon always, if somebody want to share idea with Brandon, that's Brandon's email. What is right there? And that also for the people that want to be in the show, you can contact us, the Jose Aliaga Show on Facebook. You can add us on Facebook and follow us on Facebook. If you have a nice comment, please feel free to write something very nice. If you want to put a negative comment, don't put anything in my bowl. And then if you want to be in the show too, you can call us at 248-736-7163. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Adios.